Hey, welcome to Unity Basics. This little tutorial, we're going to talk about exporting a skinned animated mesh. So we have our skin, whatever, tentacle, organic thing here, and we have an animation of it just kind of wobbling back and forth. So we're going to export this puppy into Unity and get it set up. So in Max, I'm going to have my animation here. I have it all rigged and stuff. I'm going to hit export, and I'm going to call this organic thing. Okay. Export that. Make sure my animations are set to export and hit OK. And then in Unity, and do the same thing as I did with the door. If you watch that one, and drag this guy in here. Let's drag the door in here, and let's kind of see the difference between these two things. So we have our door A, and we have our door here. You'll see it has a mesh renderer, the door, all that stuff. Now if we select our organic thing, by default it looks like the same thing. But when I actually click on my organic thing, you'll see it's now a skinned mesh renderer, and this one stayed as a renderer. It's very interesting. So this one we still have a hierarchy that we set up in Max. It's animated, it's pretty much all the same thing, except it doesn't have a skin modifier. All our links and our animations are either done directly to the meshes or to the dummies around the meshes. With this one, we actually had to put a skin modifier on it. So Unity, when you import it, interprets that as a skinned mesh render. It's a little bit different because now it doesn't have to, account for the position of the entire object of where it's going to be. It needs to keep track of every single vert and what's going to be affecting it. So skin mesh renderers obviously a lot more heavier to render and run and stuff like that in your game. So the more skin mesh renders you have, there's a possibility of things kind of slowing down and whatnot. So just kind of, keep that in mind, but it's not, that big of a deal. The nice thing about skin mesh renderers too, even though they're set up with bones, you can still affect these in Unity if you wanted to. So it's kind of fun. Anyways, so we have that in here. So let's do the same thing we did as the door. We're going to select our organic thing. We're going to go to model. We can generate whatever. Under rig, we're going to keep it as generic instead of humanoid or anything like that. We're going to create a avatar from this model since we don't have any other meshes yet. And under animations, I have this crazy weird, flip-flopping thing I did back and forth. I'm going to set that to be a loop, and I'll call this dance. Dance. There we go. Sometimes I don't know if I want to update it there for some reason. So we have that in here. We're going to do the same thing as we did for the door. We're going to create right-click on our meshes folder and create an animation controller, organic thing, A. All right, we're going to select this guy. We're going to put our organic thing, A animator in there. And we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We can open up that, bring in our dance, right? By default, it's going to just start playing. And there we go. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty much the same setup as the doors. You can create transitions and kind of mess stuff around. Now, the reason I wanted to do a tutorial with a skin mesh render is to kind of show you a couple of the things you should kind of consider. So if I select the actual organic mesh here, the skin mesh renderer, you do have a little bit more options in here, and one of the options is called quality. Now, by default, you have a project quality setting for bones, but let's take a look at what these do. So for bones, this is the highest quality you can have in Unity as far as bones go by default. What that means is any vert on your mesh can be controlled by up to 4 bones. So you know how we skinned it, and this bone or these verts here were controlled 50% by this bone or 50% by that bone. Well, imagine you had something a lot more complicated like a face where you had lots of little tiny bones and you wanted to take a lot of information from each of those bones. So Unity has a way of kind of truncating that. So the most you can do is 4 bones, which in our case is more than enough. All right, it's going to look real smooth on fancy pants. I'm not sure if this will update real time, but if I go to 1 bone, you'll see I'm going to start getting some collapsing geometry here. Because some of these guys need up to 2 to 3 bones to control what I'm doing here. Now if I go to 2 bones, it'll clean that right up. So this is a nice way of controlling, how expensive these things get. If you can get away with doing one bone or just two, then do so. Otherwise, you might need more and all that. So kind of up to you what you're going to do with that. But I just wanted to kind of quickly talk about that as a form of kind of optimization. The other option you have is under your animations. By default, you have animation under animation compression, keyframe reduction is on, and Unity just tries to take this and kind of smooth out your position, rotation, and scale and stuff, and try and kind of optimize this as best as you can. Now, most of the time, this is fine. Makes your meshes look good. Sometimes you have something really complicated, and this can actually cause a bit of a problem. So if you ever want to just turn this off, I don't know if it really made any difference on this thing. It's pretty simple, but sometimes you have some animations with some really intricate kind of movement, and if you ever notice there's an error, it could be the keyframe reduction. So you might want to take a look at that if you're ever running into issues, but obviously it's going to be more expensive. So I have this one set on optimal, and you can see it's starting to do a little bit of a jitterness, but it's still not too bad. So be careful with that and make sure that you get the look that you want. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, good luck.